The colony of Erindor was a place of steel towers, shining ports, and great machines that touched the sky. Ships came and went every day, carrying soldiers and merchants across the stars. But beyond the walls of the city, there were the dragon stables, vast stone halls where the most powerful living weapons of mankind were kept. The dragons of Erindor were not like the old stories of Earth. These were creatures grown in secret labs, half organic, half machine, bred for war. Their wings could cut through the wind like blades, their eyes glowed with fire, and their breath could burn through steel. To the people of the colony, these dragons were not pets. They were war machines, loyal only to their masters. But in the corner of this grand stable, hidden in the shadows, worked a boy that nobody cared for. His name was Kale. Kale was just the stable boy. He had no family name, no rank, no future. His job was simple: clean the stalls, feed the beasts, and make sure the soldiers' boots never got dirty. Day after day, he carried buckets of water, scrubbed metal floors, and breathed the heavy smoke of dragon breath. The soldiers laughed at him. "You will never ride," they told him. "You will never fight. You are nothing but a servant." And Kale, with his torn clothes and tired eyes, said nothing. He had learned long ago that no one believed him, no one trusted him, and no one would listen if he spoke. But there was something strange about Kale. When the stables were quiet, when the soldiers were gone, he would sit close to the dragons. The great beasts, chained with steel collars, should have ignored him. Yet their glowing eyes always followed him. When he whispered, they tilted their heads. When he sang softly to himself, their tails moved slowly across the floor. Kale never told anyone, but sometimes he felt a pressure in his mind when he was near them. Like a heartbeat, not his own. Like a voice that almost spoke but stopped at the last breath. Still, he thought it was only his imagination. One night, the colony sky turned red with storms. Lightning split the clouds, and the soldiers were called to their posts. Kale stayed behind in the stables, sweeping the floors and carrying feed. The dragons were restless that night. Their chains rattled. Their wings shook. Their glowing eyes burned brighter than ever. Kale felt something heavy in the air, something he could not explain. He walked slowly toward the largest of them all, the Firstborn one. The Firstborn dragon was a legend. Taller than the stable walls, its scales were black as night, and its wings stretched wider than a ship. It had never allowed anyone to ride it. Not even the commander. It was said the Firstborn could burn an army in a single breath, but it refused to obey. The soldiers hated it. Some wanted to destroy it. But the colony leaders kept it alive, locked in chains, hoping one day someone might control it. Kale had always been afraid to get too close. But tonight, as the storm raged outside, something pulled him forward. Step by step, he walked until he stood only a few feet from the massive creature. The dragon's eye opened. A golden light shone from its pupil, washing over him. Kale froze. And then, he heard it. A voice. Not with his ears, but inside his mind. "Little one." Kale stumbled back, heart racing. His hand shook, and the broom dropped to the floor. He looked around, but the stable was empty. The dragon's eye did not leave him. Again, the voice came. "Do not fear. You hear me, as you were meant to. You are not nothing." Kale could not breathe. His chest felt tight, his skin cold. He wanted to scream, to run, but his legs would not move. "No, no, this is not real," he whispered. "I'm just a stable boy, just a boy." But the dragon's chains rattled as it shifted closer, lowering its massive head until its burning eye was level with his. "You are more," the voice said. "You are the one we waited for." The storm outside thundered, shaking the walls. Every dragon in the stable growled at once, their voices rising together like an ancient chorus. The sound filled the night, shaking Kale to his very bones. He covered his ears, but the sound was not in the air, it was in his mind. The Firstborn dragon's head lowered further, bowing before him. Kale fell to his knees, trembling, his breath sharp and fast. His heart screamed that this was impossible, yet his soul whispered that it was true. For the first time in his life, someone, or something, believed in him. But outside the stables, footsteps echoed. The commander and soldiers were returning. If they saw this, if they learned what had happened, Kale's life would never be the same. Kale could not sleep that night. Long after the soldiers left the stables, long after the storm faded into silence, he sat in the dark with his hands pressed against his face. The dragon's words echoed in his head. "You are the one we waited for." Again and again, the voice repeated. He felt as if his mind was split open, as if a secret door had been unlocked inside him. But how? He was just a stable boy. A servant. A nobody. The next morning, Cale tried to act normal. He cleaned the stalls, carried buckets of water, and kept his head down. But the dragons were different. They watched him. Not with lazy eyes as before, but with sharp attention, like hunters waiting for his command. He tried to ignore them, but everywhere he turned, glowing eyes followed. When the soldiers noticed the dragon's strange behavior, they became suspicious. "These beasts are restless," one soldier muttered. "They sense something," another replied. The commander narrowed his eyes. Dragons never move without reason. Someone is interfering. Cale's heart pounded in his chest. He wanted to speak, to tell someone about the voice, but he remembered the laughter, the insults. No one had ever believed him. Why would they believe him now? Instead, he stayed silent. That night, when the stables were empty, Cale crept once more toward the firstborn dragon. His hands trembled, but he forced himself to step closer. "Why me?" he whispered. His voice cracked with fear. "I am nothing. I am not a soldier. I cannot even fight." The dragon's eye glowed, and the voice returned inside his head. "Because you listen. Others command. Others demand. You hear." Cale's throat went dry. "What do you want from me?" "Not want. Need. The war is coming. We will not follow your masters. We will follow you." Cale shook his head. "No, they will kill me if they find out." The chains rattled as the dragon moved, lowering its head again. The great wings folded tight against its body. "Then hide no longer. The firstborn bow only to the true one. And we have chosen." Suddenly, a loud crash echoed through the stables. The commander had entered with 2 soldiers. Their boots rang against the floor as they carried torches, their shadows stretching across the walls. Cale jumped back, his heart racing. The commander's sharp eyes locked onto him. "Boy, what are you doing here? Alone?" Cale stammered, I was just cleaning, sir." The commander's gaze shifted to the firstborn. The giant dragon had lowered its head almost to the floor, its golden eye still fixed on Cale. The other dragons stirred, chains clinking, their eyes glowing brighter than ever. The soldiers froze. Their torches wavered in their hands. "What is this?" one whispered. The commander's jaw tightened. He turned back to Cale, his voice low and dangerous. "What did you do?" Cale shook his head quickly. "Nothing, sir. I swear, nothing." But even as he spoke, the firstborn exhaled a deep growl. The ground trembled under its weight, and slowly, impossibly, it bowed. Its massive head touched the floor before Cale. The soldiers gasped. One dropped his torch. "No," the commander hissed. "This cannot be. Dragons bow to no one." But it was not only the firstborn. One by one, every dragon in the stable lowered their heads, their eyes burning brighter, their breath heavy with heat. The sound of chains scraping against the floor filled the hall like thunder. All of them, every dragon, bowed toward Cale. The boy could barely breathe. His legs felt weak, his chest tight. He wanted to run, but he could not move. He could only stand there, staring in disbelief. The soldiers stumbled backward, terror in their eyes. The commander, however, did not retreat. His face twisted with anger and fear. He grabbed Cale by the collar, pulling him close. "What are you? What trick is this?" Cale tried to answer, but his throat was dry. No words came. The dragons roared. Their chains snapped against stone. The sound shook the walls. The firstborn's golden eye flared with fire, and the commander released Cale, stumbling back in shock. For a moment, no one moved. The air burned with tension. Finally, the commander spoke, his voice low but sharp as a blade. "This boy is dangerous. Keep watch on him. If he tries anything, kill him." He turned and stormed out, soldiers rushing behind. Cale stood frozen, his hand shaking, his body weak. He felt the weight of 1,000 eyes on him. The firstborn's voice whispered again in his mind. "Do not fear. They may chain us, but they cannot chain destiny." Cale closed his eyes. His world had changed forever. He was no longer invisible, no longer forgotten. But he was marked, watched, hunted, and deep inside, he knew, this was only the beginning. The days after the bowing of the dragons were heavy with fear. Kale felt it in the soldiers' eyes. Everywhere he went, whispers followed him. They did not laugh at him anymore. They did not call him weak or useless. Instead, they stared as if he was something dangerous, something unnatural. The commander's order was clear: watch the boy. Soldiers shadowed him, even when he carried buckets of water. If he lingered too close to the dragons, they shouted at him. If he tried to explain himself, they silenced him. Kale wanted to believe it had all been a dream. That night in the storm, the Firstborn's voice, the bowing, it couldn't be real. But the truth was everywhere. The dragons were restless. They growled when soldiers approached. They turned their heads away from commands. Their wings twitched against chains, as if longing to break free. And always, their glowing eyes searched for Kale. The stable boy who once lived in shadows could no longer hide. One evening, while cleaning the stalls, Kale overheard two soldiers whispering. "They say the boy can control them," one said. "Nonsense. No human can." "Then why else would they bow?" "Even the Firstborn obeyed him. If he can master them, he is more dangerous than any alien." Their voices dropped lower, but Kale heard enough. Fear had spread through the colony. And fear was often followed by hate. That night, Kale sat alone in the corner of the stables, his arms wrapped around his knees. He stared at the dragons, chained and restless. "Why me?" he whispered. "Why did you choose me?" The answer came softly, from the Firstborn's golden eye. "Because the storm is coming. And only with you can we fight." Kale's skin prickled. "What storm?" "The stars burn with war. Enemies move closer every day. Your people cannot win without us. And we will not fight for them. We will fight only for you." Kale's heart sank. "But I don't know how. I don't know what to do." The voice was calm, like fire crackling in the dark. "You will learn. We will teach. You are not alone." Before Kale could answer, a soldier's shout broke the silence. "Boy! Out of there! The commander wants you." Kale's stomach twisted. He stood, wiping his hands nervously on his torn clothes, and walked toward the hall. The commander waited in his office, his eyes like cold steel. Maps of star systems and reports of battles covered the walls. The air smelled of smoke and oil. He did not waste words. "The dragons act strange. They obey no one. Yet they bow to you." Kale opened his mouth, but the commander raised a hand. "Do not lie. I saw it with my own eyes." He leaned forward, his voice sharp. "If you are hiding some secret, speak now, or I will have you dragged in chains." Kale's throat tightened. He wanted to scream the truth, that the dragons spoke to him, that they had chosen him. But fear choked the words. If the commander knew, would he kill him? Use him? "I don't know why," Kale whispered. "I didn't do anything." The commander's eyes narrowed. For a long moment, he studied Kale, then leaned back. "Whether you admit it or not, the dragons have bonded with you. That makes you useful, or dangerous." He paused. "And I do not tolerate danger." Kale's chest felt hollow. He bowed his head, afraid to meet the man's eyes. "Return to the stables," the commander said finally. "But remember this, boy, if those beasts rise against us, your life will end before theirs." Kale stumbled back to the stables, his mind heavy. The dragons growled when they saw him, their glowing eyes burning like fire in the dark. He felt both safe and cursed. Days passed. Tension grew inside the colony. Soldiers struggled to control the dragons. Some even spoke of killing them before they turned wild. But then, the storm the Firstborn had spoken of arrived. It came not from the skies above but from the blackness of space. Sirens wailed. Lights flared across the colony towers. Ships scrambled from the ports. Soldiers shouted, rushing to their stations. Kale stood frozen at the stable doors as alarms echoed. He heard the words shouted through comms, "Alien raiders. Approaching fast." Panic swept through the colony. The soldiers rushed to release the dragons, hoping to send them into battle. But the great beasts refused. They snarled, they pulled against chains, but not one obeyed the soldiers' commands. The commander shouted orders, his face red with fury. "Move them! Fight them!" But the dragons ignored him. The alien ships broke through the sky, burning trails of fire as they descended. Explosions shook the colony walls. Kale's heart pounded. He knew what was happening. The Firstborn's voice came again, stronger than ever. We will not fight for them. Only for you. Kale stumbled forward, fear flooding his body. Soldiers turned, shouting at him to get back, but the dragons roared, silencing all. Their chains rattled, their wings spread wide. The Firstborn lowered its massive head, golden eye blazing. Speak, little one. Call us, or your world will burn. Kale's lips trembled. His whole body shook. Could he do this? Could a forgotten stable boy command the most powerful creatures in the galaxy? Outside, the alien firestorm rained down. The colony screamed in terror. And Kale knew, if he did nothing, everyone would die. The sky of Erindor was burning. Alien ships tore through the clouds, spitting fire and metal. Explosions thundered across the colony walls. Towers crumbled. People screamed as the ground shook beneath them. The soldiers tried to fight back. Cannons lit up the sky, but the enemy was too fast. Alien craft darted like shadows, blasting holes through defenses. In the chaos, the commander shouted, "Release the dragons! Arm them!" Chains clattered as soldiers rushed to open the locks. But the beasts resisted. Their glowing eyes glared with fury, yet their wings stayed folded. They refused the soldiers' orders. The commander cursed. "Move! Obey!" But the dragons only roared louder, pulling against steel collars. They would not rise for him. Kale stood frozen at the edge of the stable, his chest tight. The voice of the Firstborn burned inside his head. "Call us. Only you can." He shook his head. I can't. I don't know how." "You already do," the dragon whispered. "Speak, and we will hear." Another explosion shook the colony. The gates split open. Alien raiders poured inside, tall figures in black armor, their weapons glowing with cruel light. The soldiers fought desperately, but they were outnumbered. Kale's fear nearly crushed him. He wanted to run, to hide. He was just a stable boy. He had no weapons, no strength. But then he saw them, children crying in the streets, families trapped under rubble, soldiers falling one by one. And he remembered the words, "You are not nothing." With trembling steps, Kale walked into the center of the stable. Soldiers shouted at him to get back, but the dragon's roars drowned their voices. The boy raised his hand, his heart pounding like thunder. "Please," he whispered. "Help us." The air shifted. Every dragon stilled. Their eyes blazed brighter, fire crackled from their throats. Chains snapped like twigs as their massive wings stretched open, filling the hall with wind and heat. The Firstborn lowered its head, fire glowing deep in its chest. "We are yours." The roar that followed shook the heavens. One by one, the dragons leapt into the sky, tearing through the stable roof. Soldiers fell back, staring in shock as the beasts rose like a storm of fire and steel. Kale stood among the broken chains, his hair whipped by the wind of their wings. The commander's eyes burned with disbelief and fury. "You," he hissed. "You control them." But there was no time to argue. The dragons were already in battle. They dove into the burning sky, fire spilling from their mouths, tearing alien ships from the air. Claws ripped through metal, wings shattered engines, tails crushed invaders. The colony lit with fire, dragon fire. Kale felt everything. Every roar, every strike, every wing beat. The connection was alive, pulsing through his mind. He was not just watching them, he was with them. An alien ship swooped low, cannons aimed at the streets below. Kale's chest burned with panic. "Stop them!" he shouted. Instantly, two dragons dove from the clouds, shredding the ship in flames before it could strike. Soldiers gasped, watching the impossible. The dragons fought as if Kale's voice was their command. The boy who once cleaned their stalls was now their master. The battle raged on. Alien forces fell back under the fury of dragonfire. Kale guided them without thinking. "Dive here, strike there, protect the people." The dragons answered every call. But victory came at a price. High above, alien cruisers appeared, giant warships bristling with weapons. Their cannons glowed, preparing to unleash devastation. The Firstborn's voice thundered in Kale's mind. "These ships cannot be fought alone. We must go together." Kale hesitated. "Together." "Ride." The great dragon lowered its neck before him, wings glowing with fire. Soldiers and even the commander stared in shock. "No one has ever ridden the Firstborn," one whispered. Kale's heart raced. Fear battled with destiny. Could he do this? The ground shook as the alien cruisers fired. A blast struck the colony wall, tearing stone apart. Time was running out. Kale clenched his fists. He was no soldier, no warrior, but he could not let his people die. He climbed onto the Firstborn's back. The dragon's scales burned with heat, yet his body felt safe beneath Kale's hands. The great wings opened wide. With a roar that split the heavens, the Firstborn launched into the sky. Kale's breath caught as the world fell away below him. Wind tore past his face, stars blazed above, and fire lit the night. Together, boy and dragon soared into battle. Alien cruisers fired, but the Firstborn twisted through blasts of energy, diving and rising with impossible speed. Kale clung tight, fear turning into something else, power. He could feel the dragon's strength as if it was his own. Now! Kale shouted. The Firstborn unleashed a torrent of fire, a golden stream that cut through the black steel of the alien ship. The cruiser split apart, exploding in the sky. Cheers erupted from the colony below. The tide had turned. But then, the enemy adapted. From the shadow of the largest cruiser, a trap was sprung. A net of burning energy shot through the sky, wrapping around the Firstborn. Kale screamed as the dragon roared, struggling against the crackling prison. Pain surged through their shared bond, stabbing Kale's mind like fire. Alien ships swarmed, dragging the Firstborn toward their cruiser. Kale tried to command the other dragons, but the net blocked his voice. The Firstborn thrashed, wings bound, fire choked. Soldiers below shouted helplessly as the boy and the dragon were pulled into the dark. The commander's face turned pale. They've taken him. Kale's last sight before the void swallowed him was the burning colony, shrinking below. The dragons roared in fury, but he was gone. Darkness surrounded Kale. His body ached as he opened his eyes. He was no longer in the sky, no longer on the Firstborn's back. Instead, he was trapped inside a cold, metallic cell. The walls glowed faintly with alien symbols. Chains of energy bound his wrists and ankles, humming with strange power. Through the small window above, Kale saw the stars. The alien cruiser carried him far from Erindor. Panic filled his chest. He remembered the net of burning energy, the Firstborn's roar, the fire in his own mind as the bond was ripped apart. Now, the silence was unbearable. For the first time in days, he could not hear the dragons. He felt alone. The cell door slid open with a hiss. A tall alien entered, clad in black armor. Its face was pale and sharp, with glowing eyes that seemed to pierce Kale's soul. The alien spoke, its voice echoing strangely. So, the dragon speaker is real. Kale struggled against the chains. Let me go. The alien tilted its head. We feared the day would come. We hoped your kind would never find the voice. Yet here you are, a child. Kale's jaw tightened. I don't understand. The alien stepped closer, its cold eyes never leaving him. Then listen. You humans believe you created the dragons. You think they are machines, you're war beasts. But you are wrong. Kale froze. His breath caught. The alien's voice grew low, like a whisper of truth. The dragons are older than your colonies. Older than your worlds. They were made in the fires of the first stars. We only helped your people discover them. But their true masters were never humans. Kale shook his head. No, that can't be. They were built in labs. I've seen the machines. Lies. The alien cut him off. Your leaders hid the truth. They fear what you now know. The dragons waited in silence, generation after generation, for the one who could hear them. You. Kale's heart pounded. He remembered the Firstborn's words, we waited for you. The alien leaned closer, its voice sharp. Do you not see? With you, the dragons will rise against us all. They will burn entire worlds. That is why we must end you before it begins. Fear gripped Kale. His chains burned with energy, holding him still. He wanted to deny it, to scream, but deep inside, he knew the alien spoke the truth. The dragons were not man's creation. They were something greater. Something ancient. Before the alien could continue, the ship shook violently. Lights flickered, alarms wailed. The alien snapped its head up. No, it cannot be. Kale's eyes widened. Through the small window, he saw shapes moving in the darkness of space, massive, winged shadows, glowing with fire. The dragons. They had come. The alien slammed its fist on the wall, barking orders in its strange tongue. The ship's weapons charged, cannons glowing as they prepared to fire. Kale's heart raced. He could feel them again, the bond sparking back to life. Roars filled his mind, the voices of dozens of dragons calling out. But the chains bound him still. His voice could not reach them. The Firstborn's golden presence surged in his thoughts. "We are here. Do not fear. Call us." "I can't," Kale whispered, pulling against the burning chains. "They've trapped me, I can't reach you." The alien turned back, its eyes filled with fury. "You will not escape, boy. The bond will be broken forever." It pressed a hand against the wall. The chains tightened, their energy cutting deep into Kale's skin. Pain stabbed through his arms and legs. He cried out, his voice echoing in the cell. Outside, dragons battered the alien cruiser, fire streaking across the void. Alien ships swarmed to stop them, but the beasts fought with unstoppable rage. They tore through metal, shattered engines, and burned through defenses. The Firstborn's voice thundered in Kale's head. "You are not our prisoner. You are our master. Break the chains." Kale gritted his teeth. The pain was unbearable, but he focused on the voice, on the bond, on the fire inside him. The chains pulsed red, fighting to hold him. But Kale screamed, forcing his will against them. "Break!" A flash of light filled the cell. The chains shattered into sparks, vanishing into smoke. The alien stumbled back, eyes wide with shock. Kale rose to his feet, fire burning in his chest. For the first time, he felt no fear. Only strength. The Firstborn's voice whispered with pride. "You are ready." The walls trembled as a massive claw ripped through the cruiser. Metal screeched, air rushed, alarm screamed. The Firstborn's golden eye appeared in the torn hull, blazing like a star. Kale staggered forward, reaching out as the ship crumbled around him. The alien lunged, raising its blade, but Kale's voice rang louder than thunder. "Enough!" The dragons roared in unison. The alien was hurled back by the force of their fire. The wall collapsed, and Kale leapt into the Firstborn's waiting claws. The beast carried him into the void, wings blazing with golden fire. But as they soared free, Kale saw something that froze his heart. Behind the falling cruiser, hundreds of alien warships emerged from the shadows. A fleet, vast, endless, blocking the stars. The Firstborn's voice was calm, but grave. This was only a scouting force. The true war begins now. The stars burned with war. Kale clung to the Firstborn as they soared above the wreckage of the destroyed cruiser. Around them, dragons roared, their wings cutting through the void, their fire blazing against the dark. But before them stretched the alien fleet. Hundreds of warships, their weapons glowing, their black hulls blotting out the stars. A wall of death stood between Kale and his people. The Firstborn's voice echoed in his mind. "This is the storm I warned of. This is the fire you were born to face." Kale's chest tightened. Fear clawed at him, but something stronger burned within, the bond. The dragons were with him. He could feel their hearts, their rage, their trust. For the first time, he was not just a stable boy. He was their leader. The alien fleet opened fire. Streams of light tore across space, explosions flaring around the dragons. One beast fell, its wings burning, its body drifting into the void. Kale's heart cried out. "No!" The Firstborn growled. "Do not let fear lead you. Lead them." Kale's eyes burned with fire. He raised his voice, and though no sound left his lips, the dragons heard him. "Together!" The sky erupted. Dozens of dragons dove as one, weaving between blasts, tearing through alien ships with fire and claw. Kale's commands guided them: strike left, shield right, burn through the center. They moved as if one mind, one storm. Alien warships shattered. Their formations broke. For the first time, fear spread through the enemy lines. But the fleet was vast, endless. For every ship destroyed, more closed in. The colony below was still vulnerable. If Kale failed, all would be lost. The Firstborn's voice was calm. "You cannot fight them all with fire alone. You must awaken the true bond. The bond of king and kin." Kale's breath caught. "King?" "Yes. The dragons have waited for the one who would not command with chains or fear, but with heart. Call to us, and we will rise as one." Kale looked across the stars. Dragons battled bravely, but they needed more. They needed unity. He closed his eyes, reaching deep into the bond. Not just to one dragon, but to all. "Hear me," he whispered in his soul. "You are not weapons. You are not slaves. You are fire, you are stars, you are free. Fight with me, not for masters, not for fear, but for life, for our people, for our kind. Together, we rise. A silence spread across the bond. Then, an explosion of power. Every dragon roared at once, their voices shaking the heavens. Fire lit the void, brighter than the alien cannons. Their eyes blazed, their wings burned with golden light. And one by one, they bowed their heads in the air. Bowed to him. Kale's heart thundered. The dragons had chosen him not just as their rider, not just as their voice, but as their king. The Firstborn's voice rumbled with pride. Now you understand. You are the Dragon King. Kale raised his hand. Then let's end this. The dragons surged forward, a storm of fire and steel. They struck the alien fleet with fury beyond anything the enemy had faced. Ships shattered, fire consumed, the stars lit with battle. Kale and the Firstborn dove through the heart of the fleet. Alien cannons locked onto them, but with a single command, dragons shielded him, wings folding around blasts, claws breaking weapons. The largest alien warship loomed ahead, a black fortress bristling with weapons. Its cannons glowed brighter than suns, ready to destroy the colony below. Kale's eyes narrowed. Now, Firstborn. Together. The dragon roared, its body glowing with golden fire. Kale felt the power surging through their bond, hotter, brighter, stronger than anything before. They unleashed it. A beam of golden flame shot from the Firstborn's throat, fueled by Kale's will, a river of fire that tore through the alien fortress. Metal melted, engines exploded, the great ship cracked apart in a storm of light. The fleet faltered. Dragons swarmed, striking down the remaining ships, their victory cry echoing across the stars. When the smoke cleared, only drifting wreckage remained. The alien fleet was gone. The colony below was safe. Kale sat on the Firstborn's back, the fire in his chest slowly calming. For the first time, he looked down not as a servant, not as a forgotten boy, but as the leader of an army. The dragons circled around him, their heads bowed, their eyes glowing with respect. The commander and soldiers in the colony stared in silence, their mouths open, their hearts shaken. The boy they had mocked, ignored, and chained was now their savior. Kale spoke softly, his words carried through the bond, through fire, through silence. This is not the end. The aliens will return. Stronger, greater. But we will be ready. For we are not slaves. We are not forgotten. We are dragons, and I am their king. The dragons roared, a sound that shook the stars themselves. And Kale, once the stable boy no one believed in, rose as the Dragon King, his fleet of fire stretching across the void. It was only the beginning.